Friday, I caught up with Travis Wells of WDBJ7, the sports anchor, talked about the Adam Ward Classic this coming weekend, started tonight with Salem and Glenver. We also talked about Virginia Tech, UVA, the Commanders, and more. Travis Wells, one of the best guys you will encounter. He's the sports director at WDBJ7, and he's on the Sports Buffet podcast. Talking to Travis Wells, sports director at WDBJ7. And let's start off hot and heavy. Adam Ward Classic this weekend. No, obviously, you knew Adam. Tell us about Adam Ward, the person, first.
Well, Adam was just a great kid. I say kid. A young man is probably more appropriate. He was a former intern in the sports office with us for a couple of summers, and then once he started as a full-time employee at the station, he worked with us a lot. His photographer duties took him to Friday football last year quite a bit. For at least one season, maybe even two. But Adam was just, salt of the earth kind of kid. And, yes, sir, no, sir, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am kind of guy. And would do anything in the world for you, anything that you ask of him. The kind of guy that you like having around, that you like having on your team.
And I talked to Grant Smithers, the former coach at Salem and the organizer of the Classic, and he said Adam would probably be astonished that, hey, this event is named for me, but it's going to be a lot of great basketball on Saturday at Glenver.
No question. And those guys, Grant and the guys with the Western Virginia Officials Association have done a great job again, getting a solid field together, some really good games. For me personally, I think the best game over there might be that 1:30 contest, the girls' game between Spotswood and Carroll County, two of the premier programs in the state. I know Carroll County's been knocking on the door of getting to a state semi and final with Mark Motley down there and haven't quite gotten over the hump. This might be the year they can do that. Funny story about Mark. We grew up down the street from each other down in Henry County area. So pulling for those guys, and hopefully they can kind of kick the door in. But, yeah, just some great basketball over there. I think the last two games are going to be super with Cave Spring and Lord Botetourt, and then Northside and Radford, and even the early games too. LCA taking on William Fleming team that's kind of been up and down a little bit. And I like LCA. I saw Sully Holmes for the first time over at the Christmas tournament at Northside, and I know he's got a bright future in baseball, but I was pretty impressed with him as a basketball player too. And then you got Auburn and Roanoke Catholic playing too tomorrow afternoon over there. Auburn is all about the Mill Irons family. Terry, of course, the coach, and then the Mill Irons brothers playing on that team, and kind of how those guys go is how that team goes. And, of course, their mom, Sherry's had tons of success as a volleyball coach down there. So it should be a great day of basketball over there at Glenver. Obviously, they had to move the tournament from Salem to Glenver this year with all the construction going on at Salem. But it should be a great day for a great cause, raising money in Adam's name. So,
who is the best team in the Classic on Saturday? I know it's putting you on the spot.
Oh, that's a tough one, man. I really like Cave Springs' team. Jacob Grew's doing another outstanding job with those guys just because – they have a nice blend of athleticism and size. I don't think anybody around really can match up with them and feel comfortable about it just from a size standpoint. Stark Jones came over from Roanoke Catholic, and he's kind of given them a different dimension. And Owen Dalyot from Salem is there, and obviously Dylan Saunders and some other pieces. But and they're going to defend, too. They're going to get up in your face and guard you. They had two really hotly contested games with Northside this year. I know one of them, Northside, won at the buzzer over Cave Spring, and then Cave came back last week and really put it on Northside. So I think those are probably the top two teams. I know normally I think Radford would be in that mix. I think they're a little young, and I don't want to say down, but just a little young and working through some inexperience with Rick Cormany and so forth. So I would go with probably Cave Spring and Northside.
Touching on a few other issues, would you be more excited if you're a Virginia football fan this coming year, or more excited if you're a Virginia Tech football fan this coming year?
Man, that's a tough question, too. I would probably be equally excited. I know that's kind of a cop-out answer, but let's start at Virginia. I mean, Brennan Armstrong's coming back. All your receivers are back with the exception of tight end Jelani Woods. If they can find some linemen up front, guys that can, run block and protect Brennan Armstrong, I think they're positioned to have a really good year, especially given their schedule that came out the other day. I think it's, set up for them to get off to a really good start in those first 5 or 6 weeks. And like Brent Pry, Virginia Tech, I think Virginia's staff has gotten out and, tried to establish relationships with the coaches around the state, and that's been a huge emphasis for the Hokies coaching staff. And, I think they've done a nice job of just, like I said, trying to cultivate those relationships and really put the emphasis back on the state. I think both sides have done a good job of that, putting the emphasis back on Virginia kids and keeping some of those talented guys in the Commonwealth.
I have seen more tweets in the past week than I saw in probably the whole year, or in the whole, time frame of Virginia Tech and UVA prior. Was that the demise of Fuente and Mendenhall not recruiting the state?
I think certainly that was part of it. I think you kind of have to go back to that for both of them. Mendenhall, I know he was kind of a West Coast guy at BYU, and a lot of those kids that he brought to UVA were from out there. Not sure kind of how that played or really how all those guys fit and so forth. And, Fuente kind of the same thing with respect to his roots in Oklahoma and Texas. And I don't think that was looked upon too kindly by the high school coaches in the state. They were like, hey, there's some talented kids here that can help your programs. And they just, for whatever reason, kind of refused to look that way.
They will both coach again, though, I think, as head coaches.
Absolutely. I think so, too.
Yeah. Okay, full disclosure, your daughter is a star pitcher at James Madison. Thoughts on James Madison moving to the Sunbelt and being taken out of the championships, I guess, in the CAA for the last year or so?
Well, first of all, I would probably stop short of saying star pitcher. She's working hard. She's a sophomore, and I think she's probably going to get some innings as she continues to work this year. So we're looking forward to that. And the World Series run last spring and summer was something that those girls will never forget, and our family will never forget. It was a great experience. But I think, obviously, the Sunbelt move is a move predicated by football, and football, as you know, always kind of drives the boat money-wise and so forth. But I think it's a good move for them. I think they had probably plateaued and topped out a little bit and gone as far as they could in the FBS ranks. And I think the Sunbelt's a perfect fit for them. I think it's not only going to elevate the football program, it's going to elevate some like softball, baseball, and some of those other Olympic sports for sure.
Is it fair for any school to be taken out of championship chases once they say they're moving?
No, and obviously I have a dog in that fight, so
right.
I'm a little bit biased, but no. And I saw, Stony Brook is paying the same price. They're leaving to go to the Colonial from the American East, and so they're getting penalized as well. If the NCAA says, hey, we're all about student athletes and their welfare and so forth, especially in light of COVID the last 2.5 years, there's no way you should be making a move like that to penalize kids.
Would you say you're just taking the media member out of it, but is Travis Wells as big of a college sports fan now as he may have been 10 to 15 years ago with the way college sports, especially football, has changed with the portal?
It's different, no doubt, no question. It's different. It does sort of have a pro sports feel to it, and it feels like, especially with the revenue sports, when you talk about football, college football,
right.
college basketball, it does feel like, hey, these guys aren't really amateurs, are they, with the money that they bring in and so forth? But yeah, absolutely. I'm still a huge fan. I love seeing kids do well, and love hearing their stories about where they're from and kind of what their goals are beyond sports and so forth. So yeah, I'm still a huge fan.
Do you think USC has become a hated team because they're USC? Do you think they've become a hated team because they're Lincoln Riley, or USC is USC, none of the above?
I think Lincoln Riley probably has a little something to do with it in some of his comments here lately. So, yeah, I think that has a lot to do with it.
Well, I guess a question would be for a lot of coaches because I think coaches now can have such a, I don't know if control is the right word, but I think they can push the button to where people don't like Ole Miss. Why don't you like Ole Miss? I don't know anything about Ole Miss, but I don't like Lane Kiffin. I think that's the power coaches have. Do you think there's anybody that moved coaching-wise this year that shifted to maybe like a Brian Kelly? I don't think many people dislike LSU now because of Brian Kelly more so than they did before. But can you think of any coach that maybe is besides Lincoln Riley got a team maybe the public feels negative about, if that makes sense?
Off the top of my head, he's probably the biggest one. I think you're right about Brian Kelly. I think people probably disliked him anyway, even when he was at Cincinnati, right. And then of course Notre Dame, just because Notre Dame's easy to hate, right?
More people may like Notre Dame now. More people may like Notre Dame now.
They may, because I think from everything I've heard and read and about Marcus Freeman is he's a stand-up guy and a family guy and does things the right way and so forth. The kids love playing for him. So yeah, maybe they will see the Irish in a little different light. But I've got a feeling that's not going to change until they join a conference.
Right. That's been going on forever and ever. But anyway, does Clemson football, are they turning the baton over, you think? Because Elliott's now at UVA, Venables at Oklahoma, and Clemson was very not Clemsonish this year in terms of power.
That's going to be interesting to see unfold. I think if you're anybody else in the ACC, you got to feel like, hey, there's an opportunity there. There's a little crack maybe. I don't want to say chink in the armor, but there's a little opening anyway, and it'll be interesting to see how Dabo kind of builds on this and implements some new guys in his staff and so forth. I don't think the recruiting has suffered all that much given those departures, and so that's going to be interesting to see play out here over the next year or two in the conference.
Could you ever see Dabo going to Alabama?
Probably, maybe down the road. I don't know. I mean, I don't think he needs the money, obviously, but that is home. That's where he,
right.
He plays.
And say they can't coach forever.
Exactly, and he's got to be coming down to the finish line here. You would think.
You would. I mean, I would think so, but I'm not gonna call anybody old, Travis. I just don't. I just don't do that. One of the final things we'll touch on real quick is, if you had to name a professional football team, would you go with the team named Commanders?
Probably not. What exactly are they the Commanders of? That's like, and I slip up all the time. I still call them. I called them the Redskins one day last week, and it's just habit. And, I know that the uniforms and the color scheme kind of got met with some mixed reviews the other day. We'll see. I think winning cures everything, right? If you win a few games, if you get some exciting players through the draft or trades or whatnot, I think that cures a lot. And I know a lot of people are turned off by the ownership and everything that's kind of going on there now with some of the allegations and so forth. But if you win, it cures all.
Final thing, Friday Football Extra is probably, what WDBJ is known for in the high school sports world more than anything. I know we got to wait before high school football starts, but how excited are you? And just based on, the spring or the winter, I guess it is now, what do you think some stories are going to be that we could be seeing come next fall?
Well, first of all, I was just glad to get seasons in. It felt a little cramped for us. Obviously, we had spring and then fall right back to back, and so that was a little bit of a grind. But I was glad those kids got to play and so forth. And I just want to keep seeing teams do well. Like obviously this year, LCA was a great story. Didn't have a great day in the state championship game down there. Didn't play real well. Didn't play their best. I think that was a great story there. Frank Rocco and those guys doing what they did. Salem, again, Salem's another one of those teams that people love to hate, right? They didn't win at all, so I know a lot of people were happy, but I don't think I could have predicted what the success that they would have after Stephen McNamara retired under Don Holter. He stepped in and kind of made a seamless transition over there, so I think that'll be another big story. And I think a lot of folks would like to see Northside and Cave and some of these other schools kind of get back to where they were, competing at a high level and so forth. And I think that's coming down the road.
That's always the fun thing. Let me close out with this because there have been a lot of talk in the NFL lately about overtime rules. Do you change it or do you keep it the way it is?
Oh, man, I don't get paid to make those decisions, but I would, as a fan of the NFL, I would love to see him make a change. I mean, if you're Josh Allen and you lead that game with 13 seconds to go and end up losing in overtime and you didn't even get to touch the ball, that's a tough pill to swallow. I would change it, but I'm sure they have their reasons for keeping it the way it is.
What would you change it to?
Well, I would make it so at least each team, even if you score a touchdown, hey, the other team gets a chance to touch the ball and go down and score. And if they don't, then obviously the game's over.
See, I'll tell you what I do. I go college rules, but instead of putting it to 25, put it to 50.
I like that.
Even if you don't get a 1st and 10, let's say you have it 4th and 1, that's a 58-yard field goal. That's not a chip.
I like that. I could get on board with that, no doubt.
Well, we'll start the petition pretty soon. Travis, I definitely appreciate your time, and we enjoy watching you on WDBJ.
Hey, thanks a bunch, Bob. I appreciate it.